The cold vacuum of space was suddenly alive with fire. The Valor's Wrath emerged from hyperspace just above the rim of a shattered human colony, its hull gleaming like a silver blade against the chaos below. Scattered debris from the colony drifted in irregular orbits, punctuated by the flashes of distant explosions. Alien warships, sleek and insectile, streaked across the void, their energy weapons painting the darkness in jagged streaks of green and violet. Captain Eric Kane stood at the command rail, jaw tight, eyes scanning the holographic battle display. The human outpost, his mission's objective, was under siege. Evac shuttles screamed toward the safety of orbiting carriers, dodging plasma bursts that disintegrated ships as if they were made of paper. Kane's fingers hovered over the comm panel. All decks, brace for engagement. Today we remind them what humanity is capable of. His voice, calm but steel-edged, carried authority that was matched only by the roar of the warship's engines. Below, fighter squadrons launched like swarms of angry hornets. The aliens were fast, precise, and relentless, but human pilots were unpredictable. They darted, looped, and vanished behind debris before reappearing with a surprise attack. Kane knew that raw firepower alone wouldn't win this battle. Humans thrived on improvisation. Every decision, every maneuver could turn a desperate situation into opportunity. The bridge hummed with tension. Engineers shouted updates, technicians scrambled across consoles, and the weapons officer, Lieutenant Mara Voss, called out targets at a rhythm that rivaled the ship's pulse. Capital ship to port flank, evasive patterns Delta II, incoming plasma volleys. Kane nodded, his mind calculating angles, speeds, and probabilities. The aliens had strength in numbers, but the human warship had something else: ingenuity. A sudden alarm blared. Sensors picked up a massive alien dreadnought emerging from the shadow of a destroyed orbital station. It was bigger than anything the humans had encountered in this sector, its hull bristling with turrets and energy cannons. Its approach was methodical, almost confident, as if it knew the humans could not possibly fight back. Kane's jaw clenched. Confidence is dangerous, he thought. Humans never play fair. Targeting systems ready, Captain. Shall we strike? Kane's eyes narrowed. He didn't just want to survive. He wanted to make them regret underestimating humanity. Fire a warning salvo. Make it count. The first plasma rounds tore through the vacuum, streaking like fiery serpents. The dreadnought veered, attempting to predict the next move. But humans didn't follow predictability. They adapted, improvised, and struck when the enemy thought the fight was already won. As Valor's Wrath descended deeper into the combat zone, the crew could see the full scope of destruction: burning stations, shattered ships, debris fields thick enough to hide an entire fleet. Yet amidst the chaos, humanity endured. And Kane, standing resolute on the bridge, knew that the heart of the raging battle was not the alien ships or their terrifying weapons. It was the human spirit, unyielding and relentless, ready to turn desperation into triumph. And with that thought, he gave the order that would change the course of the battle. All hands, lock in. We dive straight into the firestorm. The Valor's Wrath surged forward, diving headlong into the inferno of enemy fire. Plasma streaks crisscrossed the void like deadly lightning, each flash illuminating the alien dreadnought's jagged silhouettes. Human fighters weaved through the chaos, darting between debris and explosions with a daring born of necessity. Every pilot knew the odds were stacked against them, but it was precisely that danger that sharpened their instincts. Captain Eric Kane watched the holographic displays, heart hammering in rhythm with the ship's engine reverberations. "Form Delta strike pattern," he ordered. "Engage the enemy's flank and force them into a choke point." His voice was calm, but every word carried the weight of life and death. Human ships were smaller, fewer, but unpredictability was their greatest weapon. Where alien algorithms calculated angles and velocities, humans improvised, reacted, and invented solutions on the fly. Lieutenant Maravos's voice cut through the bridge chatter. "Boarding parties report incoming hostile skimmers attempting to breach our hull. Deploy countermeasures."
Within moments, magnetic fields and drone interceptors flared into action, shattering the alien skimmers in a shower of sparks. Engineers on the Valor's Wrath didn't just repair, they innovated. Damage control teams jury-rigged improvised shields and rerouted power to reinforce critical sections, turning near catastrophe into opportunity. The alien dreadnoughts, though larger and more heavily armed, moved with predictable patterns. Kane seized on this. Vector 5-9, loop behind the rear formation, target the energy conduits, precision only, do not waste ammunition. Fighter pilots responded instantly, weaving through swarms of enemy escort craft, launching synchronized strikes with uncanny accuracy. One human pilot, barely visible among the debris, executed a daring flip to evade a plasma cannon, then fired an improvised missile that tore through the dreadnought's shield generators. Sparks erupted along the alien hull, the vessel lurching unexpectedly. Meanwhile, boarding parties and zero-gravity catwalks fought hand-to-hand with alien crew members, turning stolen alien weapons against their owners. The aliens had assumed size and strength would dominate, but humans relied on creativity, speed, and sheer audacity. Even a small team of soldiers could turn the tide in the tight confines of an enemy ship. Amidst the chaos, Kane's eyes caught a larger threat, a second dreadnought, this one charging a massive energy beam towards the surviving human outpost. The fleet's morale wavered for a split second. An energy blast of that magnitude would obliterate the station and cripple human forces in the sector. Kane gritted his teeth. "Prepare intercept, divert everything to engines and shields. We go in hot." The Valor's Wrath accelerated, weaving in impossible patterns through the rain of enemy fire. Human ingenuity became their greatest weapon. Improvised decoy drones, sudden shifts in trajectory, and synchronized fighter maneuvers kept the aliens off balance. Every human action exploited gaps in the enemy's logic. Humanity was proving that courage, quick thinking, and the refusal to yield could challenge even the deadliest foes. And at that moment, amidst fire and chaos, Kane knew the battle was far from over, but the humans were no longer merely surviving. They were beginning to dominate, turning desperation into a dance of ingenuity and ferocity, a true ballet of fire against the darkness of space.
The vacuum of space seemed to contract around the Valor's Wrath as the alien superweapon emerged from the shadows of a shattered asteroid field. It was enormous, a floating cathedral of metal and energy, thrumming with a power that made even seasoned crew members recoil. A massive energy cannon extended from its hull, a concentrated beam capable of obliterating the human outpost in seconds. The aliens had assumed the humans were already broken, but they hadn't counted on audacity. Captain Auric Kane's jaw tightened. "This ends now," he muttered, staring at the holomap. Every strategy, every maneuver had led to this crucible. "Weapons officer, load everything. Engineers, reroute all available power to engines and shields. We go in close. Precision strikes only." His voice carried calm authority, but every word was a spark, igniting resolve throughout the ship. The Valor's Wrath surged forward, its hull shuddering as plasma and missiles tore past. Smaller alien vessels tried to intercept, but human pilots danced through the chaos, using debris, wreckage, and sheer unpredictability as cover. Lieutenant Mara Voss barked target coordinates with pinpoint accuracy. Every shot from the warship's batteries, every missile, every fighter's sortie exploited weaknesses the aliens had never considered. A sudden alert cut through the bridge. The alien superweapon had begun charging its destructive beam. A countdown flickered on the sensors, 30 seconds to annihilation. Kane's mind raced. Conventional attacks wouldn't work. The only option was daring, a maneuver so risky it bordered on suicidal. "Prepare for emergency override," he commanded. "Engineers, amplify the core, recreating a shockwave to destabilize the enemy formation. All hands, brace for impact."
Inside the engineering deck, sparks flew as technicians worked furiously rerouting power from life support, shields, and even auxiliary weapons into the main engines. The ship groaned under the strain, hull plates warping as energy surged beyond design limits. Outside, the alien dreadnoughts watched, confident that the humans would falter, but they underestimated the core of humanity: ingenuity and sheer willpower. With a deafening roar, the Valor's wrath accelerated directly toward the superweapon. The engineered overload triggered a concussive shockwave, rippling through space and tearing through the enemy formation. Smaller alien ships were thrown off course, colliding with each other or veering into debris. The alien dreadnoughts faltered, its charge dispersing as human missiles struck exposed conduits. On the bridge, Kane felt the ship shudder violently. Smoke curled from damaged panels, alarms screamed, but the display showed the enemy in disarray. The humans had turned desperation into dominance. Fighters swooped through gaps, boarding parties breached crippled ships, and engineers aboard captured alien vessels turned weapons against their former owners. Every action was a calculated risk, every choice a testament to human ingenuity. As the superweapon exploded in a brilliant flare, scattering fragments across the void, the tide of battle turned irrevocably. Humanity had survived the crucible, not by strength alone, but by creativity, courage, and the refusal to yield. Kane allowed himself a brief moment of grim satisfaction. The war was not over, but the humans had proven they could challenge the deadliest threats in the galaxy and win.
The vacuum of space was eerily quiet. Smoke and debris from the shattered alien fleet drifted slowly, reflecting the pale light of distant stars. The Valor's wrath floated among the wreckage, scarred but unbroken, its hull bearing the dents and scorch marks of a battle that had pushed both ship and crew to their limits. Captain Eric Kane stood at the command rail, eyes sweeping over the aftermath, heart heavy with exhaustion, but alive with a fierce pride. "Damage report," Kane commanded. Lieutenant Maravos's voice was steady, despite the smoke curling along the bridge walls. "Hull integrity at 79%. Shields down to 45. Fighters returning for resupply. All critical systems operational. We've lost some crews, but casualties are within expected limits given the engagement." Kane nodded. Numbers and stats were cold comfort, but the reality of survival and victory was undeniable. Humanity had faced annihilation and emerged not just alive, but triumphant. The battle had not been won by sheer firepower. It had been won by cunning, adaptability, and unshakable courage. Outside, human pilots weaved through the debris, salvaging alien ships where possible. Boarding parties had turned captured vessels into weapons against their own creators. Every maneuver, every improvisation was proof that human ingenuity could outmatch even the most technologically advanced foe. Kane allowed himself a brief smile, knowing that while the enemy had expected humans to be predictable, resourceful, and perhaps reckless, they had underestimated the core of humanity: audacity. On the bridge, Kane addressed his crew. "Today, we were outnumbered, outgunned, and yet we prevailed. Not because we had the strongest weapons, but because we had the sharpest minds, the quickest reflexes, and the courage to act when others hesitated. Humanity does not survive by chance. It thrives because we refuse to give in." His voice resonated through the corridors, carrying the weight of history and the promise of legend. Down in the engineering deck, technicians cheered as they stabilized the overloaded cores. Fighters returned, battered but intact, their pilots exchanging grins and nods of mutual respect. For a moment, the human crew allowed themselves to savor the triumph. They had faced annihilation in the heart of the combat zone and turned it into a showcase of human brilliance and resilience. From orbit, the human outpost transmitted a message across the sector, a signal of hope, defiance, and pride. It was more than a warning to alien forces. It was a declaration of the human spirit. Across the galaxy, this message would spread. When humans fight, they do not simply endure. They adapt, innovate, and conquer. Kane gazed out at the stars. The wreckage of the enemy fleet glimmered like shattered jewels, a testament to the battle fought and the odds overcome. Humanity had survived its crucible and emerged stronger, sharper, and more determined. The Valor's Wrath and her crew would live on in memory, a symbol of what humans could achieve when courage, creativity, and tenacity were wielded together. In the heart of the universe, among fire and ruin, one truth had been proven beyond doubt. Humans are not merely fighters. They are pioneers of victory, architects of survival, and masters of their own destiny. And as Kane gave the order to set course for the next sector, every crew member felt it. The fire of humanity would never be extinguished.